So the Lakers win 112-97, but more than most games, it felt like the result of the game felt not irrelevant because with the Suns lost, because they all hate each other, this did get the Mavericks into the play-in, and obviously the Lakers still have their hopes and dreams about higher seeds. But like you think about tonight's game with the Stars and the Jets, and I don't really care about all of the outside stuff. We need to win this game in regulation. Whereas last night, I didn't really care about the outcome as much as all the rest, right?
I would have honestly loved to see a win last night. And I know people have been texting in this morning and they're like, no, that's not what we want. We're more Luka fans than we are Mavericks fans. And I get that. I have always been a fan of my DFW teams, and I'm probably going to stick that way for a long time. I can still be upset about the way that my team did what they did.
Yep.
And I can still root for the guys on the court. And I was, but there were some other things that I didn't love. Luka went 7 for 10 from 3.
It was tremendous.
And there were some shots that you were like, how do you even get that shot up? And some of them you're like, there's no way. But as it's in the air for an hour, hey, this is Luka. This is one of those that he practices in his dreams, and it's going to fall. And it did. The things that I was upset about on the court, because the emotions of everything else really did. Kevin, the first 5 minutes of the game, I just sat there mad. And Adrian was like, are you okay? And even my kids came in and they were like, you look mad. And I was like, you probably is not the time. I'm upset right now. So just let me live with this.
Deal with your emotions and stuff.
And then it looked like PJ was kind of like doing well. And it looked like some things were going. Their defense was clicking. I was like, okay, this could be the team that they envisioned. And I do hope that at some point the team they envisioned turns into a championship team.
Have you given up, and this might be a question for another day, have you given up all hope that could come together whatsoever this year, though?
This year, at this point, until Brandon Williams gets back on the court. And I know that seems ridiculous to say that a dude that was a two-way player, like I need him back on the court. But they don't have that guy. They don't have that. Everybody still looks like they're trying to fill roles that they aren't fit for. And he has that spark that really helps them out in a way. So I am until I see that, but it might be too late by that point.
Yeah.
And then obviously, Kevin, in the fourth quarter, when they needed a Kyrie Irving, they had no Kyrie Irving. They didn't have a dude that could say, I'm putting the team on my back for the fourth quarter and we're not losing this game. And if a big shot needs to be made and I can't make it, there's going to be a double team on me to take away from the guy that is going to make it. But Anthony Davis did not show up the way I needed him to show up last night.
Okay.
This was his opportunity. This is his chance to do what he was starting against Houston. Guys, we're going to be the greatest defense you've ever seen. And don't forget, I'm awesome at scoring, and I can also pass in the paint. Now, I'll give the Lakers a lot of credit. They did a great job going at him with an extra guy. They really had him off. But I needed a performance from a guy that we traded for that said, oh, yeah, we can get on that dude's back and he can carry us. And I saw him stepping out of the lane when LeBron's coming to the basket and stepping out. I was like, dude, you only have 2 personal fouls. Why are you getting out of the way for these?
Right.
Take that. Go get a big foul on him. Make him afraid to come to the lane.
So just a little bit of shameless promotion. If you're listening to our spots, one of the plays I did say yesterday, underdog, go lower than 21.5 points on Anthony Davis. He didn't even come close to touching that. And by the way, one more shameless plug. Use the promo code MASTERPIECE up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Boom! Trying to help you out along the way. But to your point...
Is AD known? Is that his MO? Is that he just disappears in these types of games?
And
he's really good in other games where you don't expect him to be?
I think that's the case, but it's not diminished as much as like Klay Thompson, because we can talk about Klay Thompson from last night as well. But some people who are expecting Anthony Davis to carry the team on his back defensively, I know you were talking about the offense as well. I just don't think that is a reasonable expectation whatsoever anymore. And if you've been watching Anthony Davis for the last couple of years, you know what? He's a damn good player, but also probably not the person who is going to carry everything through on the defensive end. And that's why I thought the Mavericks maybe tried to misrepresent that just a little bit. And you saw it last night as well. I was disappointed. I don't know if Anthony Davis would say disappointed outside of just the loss because, we talked with Mike Curtis about this yesterday. He said, look, it's another game. I've been traded before. I've done this before. You guys are trying to make it bigger than it is. And so maybe for Anthony Davis, he strictly looks at it as, I'm disappointed. This is going to hurt our chances to get the 9 spot and have home court in the play-in against the Kings. And it's as simple as that. But when you looked at those fans and you listened to the broadcasters, whether you went ABC or ESPN last night, it was made the appropriate deal. Like, as big as everybody made it, that's how big it felt.
I cannot imagine what the Mavericks players were going through last night. It was like a road game for them in their own arena.
Yeah.
That's the most awkward thing. Like, I know Clay hasn't been consistently on fire this year. 2 for 7
Fair.
from 3, and some of the 3-shot selections, I was like, what are you doing, dude?
Was the 3 that got you? I think it was the transition 3, stop, get it, enough time.
From the logo?
Yeah, well, no.
It felt like
This one on the corner, he had enough time to bounce the ball and take the shot with somebody flying into the screen, and he missed it. And you're like, you never missed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was, they're just, if I can, being in that arena and knowing that it's going to be that big and emotional with Luka coming back, the players knew that. And now they got to go out there, and PJ looked like he was ready to play defense against Luka. They looked like they were ready to start that game. But as the game wears on and they're chanting Fire Nico, which is deserved. I'm not saying none of this is deserved. I'm saying I can't imagine being a player on that court and getting the energy in my own arena to go win.
Yeah.
And that's where I hate for the guys that are on that court because they're sitting there chanting Luka, 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 and LeBron's waving his towel for everybody, and he's like, yes, it is all about Luka tonight. And I don't know if they're ever going to be able to recapture that. And it feels like nobody's ever going to love Anthony Davis enough because he was the guy replacing the guy.
Are you worried that now every Lakers game for maybe the next decade as well will
It's already bad enough that they fill up the arena.
That's true.
And now every time, if we play the Lakers in the playoffs, Kevin, what do you think's going to happen? Whenever they have a home game, the Lakers are going to walk in here, and it's going to be a home game for them because everybody in that arena is going to be rooting for Luka, not the Mavericks. Even though, let's say it was I don't know if the matchup would happen, Western Conference Finals. That would be a home game for the Lakers because everybody would be, yes, I am very concerned about that, and I don't know how long it's going to go on. Was last night we got it out of our system, and now we can go back to things? I don't think so because, Kevin, we've been listening. We've been looking at the fan text all morning. Everybody's still ticked off about it, and they're not going to let it go.
Man, and I don't know if this will come up in one of these cuts, but somebody said what really twisted the knife for them is when they got to hear Luka's like, what's it been like to be back here? And he goes, I got to sleep in my own bed. And you're just like, man, he still has his house is here.
Yeah, he still does.
So I want to go to cut 6 because I really loved his answer. This was Luka talking about the video tribute and the love from the city.
No, honestly. Everybody saw me the way I reacted to the video. All these fans, I really appreciate it, man. All the teammates I had, everybody had my back. I'm just happy, this guy, I love these fans, I love the city, but it's time to move on.
Now that last part, it's time to move on. I did also appreciate that he took a little bit of extra time, held his hands up, for people to cheer for him and kind of his way of saying thank you to the fans and everything like that. And so we'll probably talk about this a little bit tomorrow in terms of like, when is it going to be time to move on? I get that he has to say that. Like, Mavericks fans can be mad forever. But for Luka's career, like, let's be honest, Luka has not been Luka since he got to Los Angeles. Not to say that he hasn't been a quality player, not to say that he hasn't had flashes, but he hasn't been the same Luka with the Lakers. Now, that could be construction of the team and everything like that, but it's kind of like he had to tell himself that as well.
Alec, I don't know if you got this, but I kind of felt like the beginning of the game, he still wasn't quite Luka yet. And then I look at the halftime points, and I'm it didn't feel like it to me. But there we are at 31 points at halftime.
It did take a couple of minutes, I think, for him to remember, kind of like, hey, who the F am I? And he kind of realized that after, 2 or 3 minutes, because like I talked about at the beginning of the show, the first half of basketball by the Mavs was actually really energetic, and it was really good. Like, I was thoroughly entertained by that first half, and I felt like they had a chance to win that game. But then 77 woke up and said, oh yeah, I'm him. Let's go remind everybody what they're missing out on. Not their own fault that they're missing out on it, but yeah, it did take them a minute, and maybe some of the pregame theatrics of the million cameras on his face when he walks into the tunnel saying hi to a bunch of old friends, old coaches and whatnot. You got to get past that. It probably took him a couple minutes, a couple of transitions, and then he became exactly what we remember him doing here a billion times, it feels like.
It's funny because you talk about all the cameras and stuff. Like, you saw the shots. They're like, hey, Patrick Mahomes is here. Derrick Henry is here. Of course, Dirk is there. Like, it was a happening. And I want to go back to Luka again. This is cut number 7. Just again, kind of talking about the fans' reaction.
It was a little bit of both, happy and angry, but, it's nice to see some familiar faces here. I spent a lot of times with them. Like you said, it was a lot of emotions. When I woke up, I was tired. I didn't sleep much. I was excited about this game, and, I really appreciate the fans, the way they reacted to me.
Happy and angry. And I think it was right after the game. I appreciate it that he just kind of said exactly what was on his mind at the time. When he was watching that video, he goes, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to play this game. And you have to Alex's point from just a second ago, you have to move quickly. Like, hey, everybody in the world is watching me. I'm trying really hard not to cry, but the normal human emotions have swept me up, and I'm starting to get upset. Oh, yeah, by the way, in about a minute and a half, you need to go play basketball for the biggest franchise probably in the basketball world.
And seeing Rui Hachimura, having an interaction with him after a made three off of a pass that nobody else would have seen except for Luka. Yeah. And then they're at the timeout. They're like, you see, that's how we do. The excitement that you saw, that's the excitement we got from watching good Luka. Yes, we complained about him. Yes, there were moments where we're going to complain about everything. We complain about Horry Seager sometimes, and we never complain about Boji. But like those things, we complain sometimes. But when you see the fun we had watching him play, that's where the thing that I missed last night. That's the part that I was like jealous of, watching my ex-girlfriend being so happy with her other boyfriend. And it was stuff that we used to do. It was very deja vu, as Olivia Rodrigo once said.
So I guess kind of the question that can go along with all of this, and I'm sure people have a whole different set of answers. When Luka said time to move on, I wonder how many fans felt that way as well.
It's time to move on.
But moving on can look like a lot of different things, because I've seen multiple people text in and say, no, yeah, that was the closure I needed. I'm done with the Mavs and basketball. And I'm like, whoa, that's not me. I still love the Mavs. I am not feeling overly optimistic going into the play-in, but if they got off on a run, that would be incredible. I'm still going to follow the Mavs. I'm still going to root for the Mavs because this is where I was born and raised. And heck, I still cheer for the Cowboys, and they've put me through a lot of mental torture along the way as well. So I'm still going to root for the Mavs, but it is interesting seeing how many people are like, I'm glad I got my closure. Now I'm done with the Mavs.